What's up everybody, Ghost Girl 007 here, and today's video is going to be a Haunted Reads video. Right now we are reading I Am Haunted, Living the Life Through the Dead. Right now we are on Chapter 12, Romania, page 100. A little salt goes a long way. I hate flying like a pirate hates a toothbrush. You could accurately describe me as having a fear of heights, but that's way too long a word to use casually. It's easy to say that I have archophobia, if I even said that right, which is a fear of heights. This is true, but being at a high altitude and hurtling through space at the same time brings on a whole new kind of fear for me. It's not so much that I don't trust the engineers who designed the plane or the pilots flying it, but I hate not being in control. If I'm driving a car and things go badly, then at least I can take control and get myself out of the situation. If something goes wrong with a plane, all you can do is tuck your head between your legs and pray. So I'd rather chew on tinfoil than fly to Romania. But I did it because my desire to investigate the Vlad Dracula's castle. And I did it because my desire and birthplace was greater than investigate Vlad Dracula's ghosts. And birthplace was greater than my fear of going down like a lawn dart somewhere in the Atlantic. We all have to face our fears eventually. About 3 weeks before I flew, anxiety began to build up, and the second I got onto the plane, claustrophobia punched me in the gut. I was like Eddie Norton in Fight Club. I could envision crash after crash, and every little thing had me second-guessing my reasons for being there. This is what flying does to me. When the cabin doors lock and I know I'm going to be trapped in the aluminum tube for eons, I hit a whole new level of panic. Most people would recommend psychotropic drugs, or I'm not even saying it right, relaxants, but I can't do that. I hate putting that stuff in my system. So all I can really rely on is my iPod. It saved my sanity on several occasions when I fly. I watch the flight attendants for clues. If they're calm, I'm good. If they're freaking out, then I am too. Turbulence is the worst. Every little bump rattles me, and I really don't like it when the captain comes on the intercom and tells everyone to have a seat and fasten their seatbelts. Then I know we're in for some stuff that will take years off my life. I flew directly from Las Vegas to France and then boarded a new plane to Romania. Even though I had a sleeping seat, I couldn't sleep. It's just not me. When we landed in Bucharest, I think that's how you say it. I felt like I'd stepped out of the phone booth in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Everything was new, exciting, and strange. I love moments like that, but it was such a relief to be on terra firma that I couldn't enjoy it much. Being at a high level of anxiety for so long is a drain, and all I really wanted to do was get to my hotel room and decompress, not Aaron. He always wants to walk around, probably because he drinks 8 cups of coffee a day and has a ton of energy. Aaron always wants to do something, which I admire even if I don't want to go along. He's a thrill-seeking adventurer, and unfortunately he's good at convincing the rest of us to follow his lead. Aaron will spend no more than 5 minutes in his hotel room before he texts everyone to go out and look around. We call him the walker. He'll walk for miles just to see the sights, and he never takes a cab. Sure enough, he did exactly that in Bucharest. I should have seen it coming. After being on a plane for so long, there's no way he'd sit idle in his room, and I was too curious to fight him. After all, when would I ever be in Romania again? So we went walking around Bucharest and quickly met up with our fixers. Fixers are production managers on location. Their job is to help us out of towners with everything: logistics, security, navigation, communication, in the local language, you name it. We put our lives in the fixers' hands. They could take us out into a field and kill us for all we know, but we trust them. So far, we haven't found a reason not to. I've had hundreds of fixers over the years, and in Bushos we had two, Andre and Crazy Name. Andre was awesome. He was a cool-ass dude, and I really enjoyed his company. Andre and Crazy Name took us out, and I began to notice how many stray dogs there were. Later, I learned that Romania has the highest population of stray dogs in the world. They're like birds in America. There were hundreds of dogs everywhere we went, and as a dog lover and activist against animal cruelty, I couldn't help but notice them. I fed them whenever I could, like sausages from gas stations. This was always risky because the second I broke out food, the packs would come running, and I never seemed to have enough to go around. The next day we drove to Sigihora to film our show where Dracula was born. Billy Tully, Andre, and I rode together every mile or so along these Romanian roads. We noticed a bunch of women. I had never seen so many women just walking around the road, so I asked Andre, "What's up?" He told me that they were gypsies. To us Americans, the word gypsies conjures up all kinds of magical images, and I was intrigued to see some in person. Maybe they have some sort of genetic connection to the spirit world and could help me understand it better. Unfortunately, in Romania, gypsies are a minority that treated badly. They're considered dirty, untrustworthy creatures and subhumans, which saddens me, especially when I found out why there were so many of them on the open roads. Andre told me that many of the women we saw were prostitutes selling their goods to passing drivers, but they also had a way of making a legitimate living. Every few miles there were tables manned by gypsy women where they sold homemade honey, sap, and cheese. I love cheese, so we stopped at one of these tables and I bought 5 big hunks of cheese and a little bit of honey. But I didn't really think it through. It was hot during the day, with temperatures reaching into the upper 80s, and I had no way of cutting into these cheese bricks while we were filming. So 5 giant blocks of cheese sat in Andre's car, getting hotter and hotter. One of the bricks that I left under my seat basically cooked and saturated. The cheese stand in Romania. What's the cheese stand in Romania? And there's Zach. That looks like Billy, I think. Andre's car with saturated Andre's car with its funk. It was like stinky, sweaty feet that had been wearing boots for a month and then marinated in rotten egg salad. I felt awful that I had jacked up Andre's car so badly. By the end of the trip, it was rank. To this day, if Billy and I ever smell that type of cheese again, we'll puke all over the place like the kids in Stand By Me did. We filmed for a day in Sigihora and had a great shoot. Afterwards, Billy and I got in Andre's stinky cheese car to drive to a town called Cluj-Napoca, I think that's how you say it, in a different part of the country, away from everyone else, but I quickly developed a problem. My asthma was acting up, and I didn't have a rescue inhaler with me. It wasn't bad enough that I was in danger of dying from a completely closed airway, but it was uncomfortable to say the least, and the stench of my cheese didn't help. Keep in mind that not all of Romania has modern roads. We were driving along kidney-jarring back roads for a long, painful time with asthma and stinky cheese funk. It may have been the worst road trip of my life, and we had a long way to go to Cluj-Napoca, I said it wrong, to film. In the Hitchhiker, I can't even say this right. Hayabushka Forest. I used to be able to say this right. People are talking in the background, so it's all good. Another car went with us to carry the gear, and the driver of that car, who was also a dentist, also had asthma and saw that I was in agony. At a rest stop, he told us that to cure my ails, we needed to stop at a salt mine that was on the way. I've never heard of smelling salts being used as a treatment for asthma, and was immediately against it. I just couldn't see how it was going to help. But the dentist was convincing. He said that people come to these salt mines from all over the world to cure their ailments, so I reluctantly agreed. And we set off for the middle of nowhere, Romania. Remember what I said about fixers being able to take us anywhere and leave us for dead. This could have been the intro to a horror film. We drove a long way through forests, past giant medieval castles, and through gypsy towns where huge cranes built nests under the protection of the locals. These magnificent birds looked to be 5 feet tall and were well cared for, because the gypsies believed that cranes who have babies bring good fortune. It's really funny how some animals are considered evil and hunted, while others are considered sacred and protected. Luck of the draw, I guess. We finally arrived at the salt mine, and let me tell you, it was a crazy place. First, we boarded a shuttle bus full of people and drove into a cave in the side of a mountain. It was pitch black, and I felt like I was on Mr. Todds' wild ride at Disneyland. The bus narrowly missed every wall. Even stranger than the drive were the people, who looked like they were going to the gym, with towels, exercise clothes, headphones, and bags full of recreational equipment. I felt so out of place, which is saying a lot for a guy like me. The bus stopped, and everyone went through a door to come face to face with the staircase from hell. It was straight down and looked to be at least 500 steps. Wait, I thought, I have a respiratory problem. If we go down there, how am I going to get back up? I didn't want to go, but those jackholes talked me into it. I would have felt like a quitter if we traveled all that way and I didn't even try. So down we went. Instantly I tasted salt in the back of my throat and took some deep breaths. I wanted to scramble back up to the surface with every step, but I forced myself to tread on. When we reached the bottom, I was dumbstruck. Through a corridor was a huge cavern, and people were enjoying themselves like beachgoers in Jamaica. There were ping-pong tables, shuffleboard games, restaurants, taverns, and even tents for people with more severe respiratory problems who stayed for weeks at a time. It was very weird, but also very cool, and it took only a glance for me to realize that this was probably a good thing. I felt bad for doubting the fixers. They are chosen to be fixers because they have an intimate knowledge of the local community and can be relied on to take care of us foreigners. Apparently, the salt mines attract people who need to breathe the negatively charged air. It brings them comfort without the use of pharmaceuticals. So we had lunch and hung around for a while. I made it back up the stairs and felt a ton better. For the rest of the shoot, I had no respiratory problems at all. It was a detour I'll never forget, and I am so glad I took it, until I had to get on a plane to come home. As good as my lungs felt, I still hated flying. So maybe we'll read some more. Actually, that's quite a bit of a big chapter. So that is it for today. So if you like this video, just like and subscribe and comment in the comments below. And until next time, everybody, stay creepy.